Hello, renewers. By virtue of watching this video, you're learning something very important about Pastor Boyd's house. Can you keep a secret? We grow grass in our house. I like that. All right. Don't take that out of context. Get me in trouble. If I seem a little bit low on energy or if I grunt while I'm talking a little bit here, it's because I just, like a half hour ago, finished this overly long run. I got lost. I ran down to a park and I was running around and I got lost and came out and I thought I knew where I was and I actually didn't. So I ran the wrong direction for too long. And so I ended up running 17 miles and it's like way longer than I wanted to run. So I'm bushed. But I'm happy to do this update. The thing that's interesting about life is you often end up doing things that you didn't think you'd ever do. Life has a way of surprising you. I'm kind of becoming this sort of pastor to younger pastors in this rising revolution. And it's not something I ever dreamed I'd be doing. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. As people get this vision of the kingdom, and the terminology they always use is they're ruined. They get ruined. They can't keep doing church the way they used to do it, or they can't keep on at the church they were at or whatever. I just love to pour into folks when they're hungry. They're starting to see stuff, and it's just an absolute joy. So I tell you about just a little few samples of this in the last couple of weeks. Got a call from a guy in North Dakota. He was an assistant pastor at a church, the youth pastor at this church, and very happy there. He has a little child and everything's secure. And then he starts reading the wrong people and listening to the wrong videos, and he gets ruined. And so he calls me up and talks. You want to talk through some practical stuff about how do you try to refit your life, retrofit your life when you get this vision of the kingdom. In his case, he had eventually, he ended up getting fired from this church because he felt he could not, with good conviction, keep on stuffing, being silent on some of the things that he was seeing. For example, all the money going into making the building look prettier and prettier and none of it going to the poor. It just bothered him, and so he had to try to challenge that. But he was ruined, and so now he's asking me, what's the next step? He also had some theological questions that he wanted to talk through. Some of the nuances about the church and state and should Christians vote and those kind of things. And it was just a delight to Skype with him. I got another call from a pastor in Chicago. He started this church, I guess, 6-7 years ago. But now his theology has been evolving in a kingdom direction. And his question was really, how do you, in a tactful way as possible, start to bring people on board when they've been given this sort of standard American evangelical theology, and now you've been radicalized. How do you bring people along with you on that? I mean, it's a really interesting, tactful question. Plus, he had some questions on theology, atonement theory, Christus Victor sort of stuff. And it was just a delight to speak with him. Got a call from a guy in Wisconsin who he's an assistant pastor who is about to take over as senior pastor in this Assembly of God church. But he also has just totally gotten on board with this theology. And he knows that the senior pastor is not on board with it at all. They've had a few discussions and it hasn't gone well. But he's going to take over this church here in a little while. So he has this similar kind of question. How do you begin to, in this rural church where they celebrate their guns, how do you begin to talk about nonviolence? And how do you begin to introduce a fuller understanding of salvation and a Jesus-looking God and all those kind of transitional things, practical things like that? There's a church planter in Florida. He's not yet a church planter, but he wants to be. He got the vision of the kingdom. He's a counselor, but he is deciding that he wants to set that practice aside and plant a church because he's really got this heart to be spreading the kingdom. And he thinks that so he's got some people around him. They started to have house meetings. And so he had questions about just how do you start a church and what do you expect and how do you deal with difficult people and all those sorts of things. This is not the kind of thing I ever thought I'd be doing. Pastoring these younger pastors and other folks who want to be pastors and theologians. There's all this networking going on. If you would ask me even 3-4 years ago, this isn't the kind of thing I'd want to spend time doing. I would have thought, no, I like to write books, that's it. But it's just kind of coming to me, and I'm kind of surprised at how excited I get doing it. The truth is that you can see this in church history happening on occasion, where God does a new thing and moves the church in a new direction and starts planting new ideas in people's heads. And in those moments. They're called kairos moments, divine moments. If you're positioned right, if you're positioned early in the history of those movements, those are the folks who get to shape it. You know, the whole Reformation. The reason why we read about Calvin and Luther a lot more than we read about some of their followers, because they were the first, they were the ones who out of the gate, you know, were the writing the theology and influencing people when this new movement arose. We're definitely in one of those movements, and people all over the place are seeing it and getting it, and it's very exciting. And I feel so honored to be at at the precipice of this thing, at the early stages. I and others just feel called to, through writing and through relationships and through networking, to shape this thing. It could go off in a couple of weird directions, and I see people already trying to pull it off in some weird directions. I want to spend the years of my life pouring into this thing to keep it on track, going in a kingdom direction, staying rooted in Scripture, staying balanced, not getting wacko on the left end and wacko on the right end, but to be steering this. Thank you so much for supporting Renew. I just really appreciate it, because it's the support of folks like you that allow this all to be happening. God bless you guys. Have a great day.